Listen, schools can't get teachers, you know this. Language learning is in decline in just about every country, and yet we seem to be overflowing with language tutors. How do you explain this? Schools can't get them, but language tutors are everywhere. So we can only assume that the overall majority of teachers, tutors and coaches or language providers aren't qualified. And if you think it doesn't matter, I say, well, keep on carrying on. Frequent problem number 2. Now, a lot of learners visualize language learning as a sort of ladder that goes from A0 to C2 because that's what they were told. If they know some French, they'll declare themselves A2 or something similar, and they'll look for a course that matches their supposed level. But the fact is, there's only 2 states of learning. There's only 2 levels. It's the state of learning versus the state of non-learning. If you're still in the state of learning, it makes you a learner. If you consider that you don't need to learn anymore, you're no longer a learner. And there's a reason, by the way, if you look at similar industries that also involve teaching and learning, there's a reason that expert martial arts enthusiasts all train together. Black belts and white belts, experts and beginners, because we're always learners. We remain learners. It has nothing to do with the colour of your belt or the language level that was given to you after you took that test. I always say size is the enemy of language learning. Why do I always say this? Because a language school that offers 8, 9, 10 languages is essentially operating in the dark, because the manager has no clue what's going on in any of those classes, and they have not the slightest clue if the Japanese teacher, the Russian teacher, the Arabic teacher, the Italian teacher is really any good. How would they know? How would they monitor this? They would have to be teachers of those languages themselves. Plus, the larger the brand, the more you have to ask yourself, well, are they just not publicly admitting that the real purpose is to use education as a convenience to make money? Isn't this just as good as admitting we're in this for the money? Because these are basic pyramid structures with the disposable low-labour tutors at the bottom and the owners at the top. And because if the owners of the business liked languages that much, believe me, they would have studied language learning or teaching at university, which they didn't. They would have become teachers themselves if they liked it that much. Speaking of size, let's talk about well-known brands. What is a brand? Why do you buy it? Why that brand and not another? Why? Because the name is familiar to you? What makes a brand a brand? Developing a brand means a certain coherence. Every enterprise car rental is going to be pretty much the same as any other. Every Coca-Cola tastes the same. In language learning, a brand would mean the standardization of practices, the standardization of teaching practices, which also implies that this brand has a learning system of some kind that's proprietary and that no one else in the world knows about. Do you believe in this? Well, of course not. If the brand does impose a set curriculum onto their teachers or tutors, well, they're actually impoverishing teaching, which by nature requires to be flexible and creative. If you want a brand, you have to standardize. If you don't standardize, you don't have a brand. So why are you buying that brand and not another one? What are you really buying when you buy a certain language brand? I don't know. Maybe you do. How does a student choose quality? How does a student recognize quality in language learning? Because I think a student could be standing in front of the very best teacher ever, potentially. Would you know it? Would they recognize it? Learning a language requires a year, just about. How would a student recognize that person? Because they'd have to enroll in that program for a year. So in the absence of this, the student really judges language providers by different variables. They judge based on popularity, likability, and other subjective factors. Okay, let's talk about something radically different now in language learning, language teaching, monolingualism, which never gets spoken about. We never speak about this. Most tutors who teach you a language are not also natives of your language. It's absolutely so rare to find a balanced bilingual who's a native of two languages and who also has the academic requirements to teach. As a result, the tutor doesn't see most of your reality. They can't know your starting point and your identity as a speaker of a certain language. They're not a native of your language. It's absolutely crazy, and yet no one speaks about it. And the very last one on the list today, we're going to try and keep it short, is hard work. I think it's just about the most taboo word in language learning today. You're going to have to work hard, you're going to have to repeat. You've probably heard the phrase, repetition is the mother of all learning. It's still true today. It's true in sports, it's true in music, it's true in languages. It requires practice and work. And yet, so many learners still think that they can cheat the gods of languages by, I don't know, low-level chatting with a partner, or hoping that it will just come with time, or understanding isn't the same thing as being able to use something. Okay, and this concludes our first lot of underlying problems in the language industry today. My name's Chris from OuiCommunicate. Find me at OuiCommunicate.com. We'll sort out all your learning problems. See you soon for part 2 of this video.